Hello again. We're back now to do the next stage in our head joint. This is where we left things. We have the timber head joint, we have the cork, and we have two gold rings decorated. What we're going to do next is we're going to put in the ornamental plug. So just to show you what that's going to look like, I'll hide the silver rings, I'll hide the cork, hide the other silver ring, and I'll hide the joint. And let me just bring that out to have a close look at it. The icon I clicked on there is the magnifying glass with the little square inside it, and when you want to get something square and center, that's what you do. Just click on the magnifying glass with the little square in the center and you can have a close look at it. So this just serves as an ornamental plug. It has no particular function in the playing of the instrument, though you can attach it via a screw to the cork and use it to manipulate the position of the cork. You can see we have a thinner cylinder, a wider cylinder. Just take a look at it and you can see we have a rounded edge, so it's quite ornamental. I just bring in the timber joint and there's that silver ring, and that's what the whole thing should look like when it's finished. You can see there's a slight chamfer there as well, just to marry up to the gold ring. Now what we want to check in this one, because this is the model I use to get these videos ready, is the history. I'm just going down to the very bottom of the page with the entire history here of the head joint at the stage where I have it currently. So let me just bring everything into fit again, and as I go through these, you'll see, just keep an eye here as I put the cursor there, the fillets highlight, the extrude highlights, the sketch highlights, the extrude highlights. And if I want to make any changes, let's say I want to make the cork a little bit different, you can right click on the icon there and go to edit feature, and I can so I've selected that's the sketch, so I can change wherever I like on the sketch, but I don't want to do anything there, so I cancel that. Okay, so let's go then to the actual model for the video class, and this is where we left it. And you can see that the history here is much less populated. Oh, the ornamental plug is still remembered here. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll make class model active. So you do that by selecting that little circle there. And we'll take a look at the history. So again, you can walk through it. I'll go well back here. So you see the mirror, the ring being mirrored. Okay, and what we want to do now with the class model active is go to assemble and make a new component and give the new component a name, and we'll call it ornamental plug. Now what has happened? Firstly, it has activated the ornamental plug. It has deactivated the class model. Back to the class model, and you can see the whole history in the bottom pane comes right up. We activate the ornamental plug, we have no history because we've done nothing yet except create the actual component. And what's in the component? All we have is the origin, the axes, and the planes. Now, we're going to hide the timber, the silver rings, the corks, so that we have a clear field. And we're going to build this on the YZ plane. Up pops the YZ plane, and I just took that out of the way. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a new sketch. And we'll build the smaller of the two cylinders first. And that's 19 millimeters in diameter. Now there are many ways to do this when you want two extrudes, the two extrudes going in different directions, one going in to the flute and one going out and away from the flute. There are several ways for doing it. This is one way. We meet other ways for doing exactly the same thing in other videos. So we finish the sketch and we want to extrude. And we remember that this is heading into the flutes. We want it to go this way. How far do we want it to go? From the drawing we want it to go 11.5 millimeters. So that looks fine. Now if we take a look down at history, you can see we have an extrusion and we have a sketch. So our history is building up. Okay. So let's say for a moment I forget what diameter I gave to that circle. And let me go back and check it. Go here, select that, and I'll edit the sketch and it comes front and center. I can zoom in on it. I have diameter 19 millimeters, that's what I wanted. Finish the sketch, I can go back home. Okay, so now I want to select that face there and build another circle and extrude it this way. Now you could do it there, but I prefer to look at it in the eye, and I select that face. I'm not selecting any planes. I could select the plane, but I just select the face and it comes square in the center. This time I put in the other circle, which is 28.5. I'll finish the sketch, go home. Excellent. Now there's things to be remembered here. I'm going to do it wrong the first time. I'm going to select what I think thought was the circle, and I'm going to extrude it, and I'm going to go this way. And how far do I want to go? 15. You have to keep an eye on your minuses and your pluses here. Sometimes, depending on how you do it, this might need to be a minus 15 because it's going the other way. Now that looks great until we look around and we see that it has only taken the outer circle. So I have several ways for fixing this. I can go in here, I can extrude that, I can put that down for 15 mil and it's solid. I'll edit undo that. I could go down here, edit the feature, and this time select that as well, and that incorporates that inner piece into the feature. So several ways of doing the same thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add, just having drawn the circle, see I have two circles, two regions if you like. Now I'm going to extrude them, click on that one and click on that one. So you need to be aware that you're clicking the whole, you're selecting the whole area that you want to extrude. And make sure we're going in the right direction. Yeah, 15. Enter. Let's have a look at it. home, all looking good. So that's the extrusion done. Again, look at the history down here. History's growing nicely. Now take it to the front, because now I'm going to modify fillets. Now if you take a look at the set of instructions that are in the description, the link for them is in the description down below, you'll see that the next step is to modify fillets. Modify fillet brings up this dialog box. There's a little picture in the instructions. So I want firstly to modify this one here. Now you have a narrow, you can do it there until you like it visually. You can see that it collapses if you go beyond a certain point, because you don't have enough space to handle the circular curves. So depending on your own taste, you can leave it manually, or you can do like I did, and on that edge go over here and put in 5. That gives it that shape. But we also want to put a little fillet there, and we want to put a little fillet there. This one is ornamental. That is to help the ornament slide into the actual head joint. So we will put up plus. We select this one. And we select this one. Now when we selected this one, the fillet here disappeared and the fillet here disappeared. Don't worry about that, because as soon as you put in the 0.5 there, they both come back. Don't worry about the other things that came up on the fillet. If you want to go back, you can always edit that feature. See where I went? I went down to the history and it brought up the dialog box for the fillets. There are other corner types you could do. There's tangent chain, you'll meet that in your work, tangency weight, things like that. For the purposes of this exercise, that's not relevant. So just hit OK again. Okay, so we want now, well, let's have a look at it, to modify the physical material. Now once again, we're dealing with Fusion 360's limited library of materials. The closest fit I could get to this was for the faux ivory, or the false ivory, was in plastic. And the one I ended up picking was nylon, but a particular kind of nylon called molybdenum disulfide. Click on it, hold and drag. And hit close. Now I just take a look at modify physical material again. Up will come the dialog box. Gold, pine, acetal resin, mahogany, silver, pine, oak, wood, leather, weathered, and nylon molybdenum disulfide. So what it does is, as you build your model, it assumes that you might want to use these physical materials again, and it puts them into this little box up here. So you don't have to go trawling through the various libraries to pick the physical material you actually want. But we're happy with molybdenum disulfide. Now, we want to see that we put it in the right place. So let's bring in the head joint. So if we just look at it, plenty of room between the plug and the head joint. Put in the timber. And we can see that we have a nice wrap. I want to make a comment here about these lines that you see on the cork and on the plug. They're because, in effect, we have put the outside of the plug in exactly the same place as the inside of the timber of the head joint. And we put the outside of the cork in exactly the same place as the timber of the head joint. So graphically these striations start to appear. Now you can get rid of them if you want to make pretty pictures. However, for the purposes of doing good construction drawings, it's a good idea to actually tolerate these striations in the visuals for the time being. So now we'll bring in the silver ring, gold ring in this case. And let's go back to the square in the magnifying glass and we go home. And there we have it. So what we want to do, we've unhidden all the components. We have the rings, we have the plug, we can see it inside our transparent head joint. And we're going to now save. So we go back up to save. And before I save, this is the class model. It's on version 11. So I'm going to save. User saved. You could put a note in there if you wanted. And you see the way class model, it's updating online. There it is back, and it is now V12. Okay, so the next time I open this, I'll be opening V12. If you see V13 or V15 there, you'll know I was playing around with it in the meantime. Okay, I hope that's of some use to you, and we'll see you again when we move to bring in. I just move back to the head joint, my own head joint. We'll take a quick look at it. We'll expand here, and we will bring in the silver ring, and we bring in the silver, nickel silver slider. So that's going to be our next project. Thank you.